What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. So this week we will be carrying out a market analysis. I will be going over just a brief analysis of the trades I took last week and coming into next week, and what we plan on seeing and the action that will occur into this following trading week. And primarily I'll be looking at gold and BTC, potentially cover some analysis on silver too, because these are typically the pairs that I trade. So yeah, we'll cover our analysis on this, and hope you guys enjoy, and I'll give you a breakdown of what I expect to see. So firstly, we're going to talk about the high time frame trend on gold. So on the monthly time frame, we can see that we've had a bearish March overall, and it seems as though the trends are turning negative. On here is showing the yellow DMA, which is a 3x3 and a 25x5 displaced moving average. Essentially, for every couple periods of price action, these displaced moving averages are placed on the chart, so it enables me to identify the price action kind of ahead of time to see what price levels get respected. So currently we're just respecting the 3x3 on the monthly. Sorry. So if we move down to the weekly time frame, now you can clearly see we've had a sentiment and trend shift, right? So the sentiment and trend shift being that the market has changed its bias throughout March and now is in a negative downtrend. You can see that both DMAs are crossing to the downside, and we have this most recent or local structure which has been targeted here based on this previous weekly candle. However, we closed above, so if we do retest this candle, this will also be an area of interest. Now currently is the market where it is right now. We are in a downtrend, and moving down to the daily, we just basically see what the market is doing, right? So we had the sharp sell-off, we've created a higher low, liquidity sweep, and price, this candlestick alone, have been swept, and we retested a retracement level. So if we just look here, so this retracement level got tested, and essentially we respected it, and now price is heading back down to the downside, right? So we're kind of in this zone with gold currently. So we have the monthly objective point level, which has already been targeted, and the key thing is now I have this higher time frame support retracement, which is from from September's 2022. It's like a reaction point, right? And this is telling me when you drop down to the daily time frame that a 0.382 retracement and a trend-based fib extension combined provides confluence, right? That's where it's an area of interest of where buyers could show up, right? And the reason why I say this is because we had this happen here, right? Price tapped into this area, being 4,073 to 4,076. Price tapped into that area and we bounced, right? So on the daily, we bounced and we opened last week bullish, and we retested this 618 level, right? So we retested this 618 level, as you can see, because this trend overall is still down, right? We know sellers are in control, therefore we respected the 4-hour breaker structure, we respected this local supply zone, and price is rejected, right? So the key thing for me and my outlook for next week is that what do we do at this level, right? This key level right here being this lower low, right? If we break this lower low and trend continues further to the downside, then I'm sure and I'll be certain that we will be imminently moving down to potentially 3,500 to 3,600. Now if I drop down to the hourly time frame, the imminent shorter term fibs if I just do a small expansion wave, we'll be able to tell us those short-term targets on the hourly time frame based on this bearish candle that we had, with an XOP being a target to the downside, right? So imminently, I would say essentially wait for what kind of price action develops, because from this internal sweep that we had on the higher time frame on the higher time frame bias, we basically sold off into it, and there's no support coming from this support that we had. So we had this internal lower low, price pushed up, made a lower high, rejected, and then pushed up again, was consolidating between this demand zone, found sellers coming in again, price made a lower low and continued lower, and it could potentially push back down or make a retest of a zone to potentially push back down lower. So the key thing is just to identify the price action, and just look for that going forward. But my bias for next week is essentially just to see and identify what gold will provide, but my bias is that we potentially continue down. So that's that for gold, and then we'll jump over to silver. So silver on the monthly time frame, let's have a look here. So we currently have, if I just get rid of this, so on the monthly time frame, again similar to gold, where we have this 3x3 disrespect, and on the weekly time frame you can see that we have a local support level which is currently holding, right? So with 63 being support, right? So whoops, let's get rid of this quickly. Okay, yeah, so with 63 being support, because we wicked into it once, twice, 3 times, and we're currently testing that zone again, right? So this is your daily support, right? Your daily support level for silver. Now for silver, if you think about it, it hasn't really technically been trending since March, right? We've been in this consolidated phase, and typically markets like this, and my strategy is that it only works when markets are trending, right? So we had the bearish sell-off, this internal lower high, lower low, lower high, whoops, sorry about that. We had this internal, what's going on with TradingView? So we had this internal bearish push, an internal lower high, a lower low, consolidated price action, another lower high. So it's a choppy market, right? And in order for this price action to develop and a major shift to essentially occur, we need to see one of these levels break, with one level being the 618 daily support, or the other level being this local supply zone on the higher time frame bias. Now with price already pushing down to the local demand zone and so daily support, I would expect for it to potentially push lower, as this, we are quite imminent in terms of the price action if we do potentially push down to this low, with that move being 5% down. But on the high time frame bias, silver could be, a good long-term opportunity. So if anyone was thinking to get into silver now, I mean, it's currently 45% down from all-time high, and that's essentially 50% discount price. And you saw where silver went, and there's a lot of hedge fund investors which are intentionally telling people to, or they're forecasting the price of silver to actually be up at the highs again. So for myself, currently right now is in a consolidated phase in the market. We don't know when the bearish phase will finish. The key thing is identify what trend the market is in, and then we can actually trade the price action from there. So currently I don't have too much on my eye on silver, but it's a similar setup to gold. So in that case, I will be keeping an eye on this low again, similar to how gold is, right? So essentially that is silver covered in a shorter term. And then we have Bitcoin. So Bitcoin on the monthly time frame will turn on the displacement moving averages. There's a lot going on here. Let's just see if I can just turn this off. So yeah, you can see the disrespect trend. Wow, you know what? From looking at the monthly time frame, Bitcoin could be pushing a lot lower. We've had the disrespect from the 3x3. We are currently down on the 25x5, and on the weekly we are also down. The key thing is now, if you're looking at this low, do we continue to push further down, right? And I have an area of interest with this being a confluence level. If I go down to lower time frames, I'll be able to show you guys that that is a confluence area. Bitcoin still on the daily and the on the weekly and the monthly are still down overall. We know where, if it was to recover back up to the upside, 90k is that level at a later stage, but currently right now the sellers are in control of the market. We have a local contracted objective point and a F5 618 support retracement, so 57 being major support. So in the imminent shorter term, I would say for this imminent shorter term that we have this down leg, right, that we had in May, and we sold off towards the end of May, and it's just identifying the price action between 68 and 73. If price does push back up to these levels, we could potentially sell it off further, because we are in originally a downtrend. So that is the bias for this week. And if you guys have any questions or any thoughts on the market, I'd love for you guys to just share your ideas and kind of see where the market takes us next week. Also, the key thing is to look out for the news this week. That's one thing where I kind of failed this week, you could say. I wasn't aware of news being released on Thursday on a trade on gold that I had placed, which I wasn't aware of at the time. I could show you guys the trade which actually happened. So it's roughly, I think, I had initiated the trade during Monday to Tuesday. It was in a slight bit of drawdown, and initially we were going to test this 618 level, and we got stopped out, and then there was going to be a proposed trend shift to the upside, but news came out at 7 p.m, so it took me out on that day. So yeah, that's essentially what happened in the short term. So I wrote down what I could do better, and going forward, identify what analysis and parameters to take in place going forward for the future. So yeah, this is essentially my trading analysis and technical analysis for this week. Again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free. Thank you guys for listening, and take care and have a good week. Peace out.